Question number 1. The use of present tense throughout the poem helps reinforce the speaker's what? So this poem is written in the present tense, and present tense verbs make it seem as if things are happening right now. So let's look at our choices. A. Ambivalence regarding her work as a waitress. Ambivalence means mixed or contradictory feelings, but the speaker doesn't seem to have mixed feelings about her work. She talks about the work being easy after the first few nights. She's hopeful of getting tips, and her imagery overall about her job is fairly positive. The nights repeat themselves as faithful as a steady date. She talks about the light from the kitchen being a beacon, which is hopeful imagery. And close to the end, she says that the job is enough for now. So overall, her feelings about her job are consistent rather than ambivalent. B. Failure to value other dimensions of life beyond pleasure seeking. We don't have an indication that the speaker is pleasure seeking to the exclusion of other dimensions of life. After all, she has a job and she's college bound, so this won't work. C. Sense of timelessness during that summer at the drive-in. The speaker says that each night repeats itself, and in Light 14, she says that it's always summer at Patty's Charcoal Drive-In, and these do indicate a sense of timelessness. The fact that she speaks in the present tense contributes to that sense. She says it is always summer, so it's as if the summer continues on rather than something that happened in the past and came to an end. So C looks like a reasonable answer. D. Surprise at the rich variety within her routine at the drive-in. No, she says that each night repeats itself, which indicates that her routine is the same night after night. E. Regret for the brevity of her summer job at the drive-in. Brevity is a short duration, so regret that her summer job at the drive-in is so short. We don't find any indication that she regrets that this is a temporary job. She says it's enough for now, but she doesn't indicate that she wants it to last for a long time. So this isn't a good answer, and the best answer is still C, a sense of timelessness during that summer at the drive-in. Question number 2, the speaker experiences tension primarily between what? A. Her desire to please others and her attempt to define her own identity. We don't get a great sense of the speaker desiring to please others except in the fact that she wants to get tips, but there's no indication of tension between this desire and her identity, so no. B. Her need for money and her quest for knowledge. She is headed to college, which is a quest for knowledge perhaps, and she's working, which indicates a need or at least a desire for money, but there isn't any tension between the two. She's working during the summer, not the school year, and she states that she's college bound without hinting anywhere that she needs to work more than she needs to go to college, so there isn't any tension here. Cross out B. C. The artificiality of the drive-in and the reality of the natural world. On the contrary, the speaker intermingles imagery of the natural world with her descriptions of the drive-in environment. The job is temporary as the sun. The silver coins are tossed as carelessly as the stars. The dark pours down like Coke. The moon is a burger on a flat black grill, which is the night sky. So there isn't tension between the two, and C is incorrect. D. The superficiality of the drive-in customers and her own sensitivity to her environment. We don't get a sense of superficiality of the drive-in customers. She sees them all as somewhat alike, blonde and tan girls, guys in black tees with slick hair, but this really ties more into the sameness of the routine than with the people themselves. We don't know if they're superficial or not. And there's no indication of her feeling tension between anything related to her customers and any kind of sensitivity to the environment. She presents trays to the customers as if the trays are banquets, and she's hopeful of tips, so there's no tension indicated here at all, and D won't work. E. Her satisfaction with her job at the drive-in and her undefined future life. If we look at lines 30 through 37, we see that a breeze comes up as if suddenly a cold wind had started to blow straight at me from the future. So there's some uncertainty here about what will happen in her future. And then she goes on to say, but right now, purse fat with tips, this is enough. So this indicates that she is feeling some uncertainty about the future, and that contrasts with her contentment with her current job when she says right now this is enough. So E is the best answer. Question number 3, the speaker considers her work at the drive-in to be what? This is pretty straightforward, so let's read through all the answers. A. Educational and enlightening. No, she says that the work goes easily, so she isn't being educated and enlightened. B. Increasingly disagreeable. As we saw in an earlier question, her imagery is that of a pleasant job, not a disagreeable one. Each night repeats itself, faithful as a steady date. So this is incorrect. C. Genuinely amusing. No, she doesn't indicate that anything is funny to her. This won't work. D, predictable and uncomplicated. We see in lines 8 and 9, after the first few nights of mixed orders and missing cars, the work goes easily. So the work is uncomplicated. And then she says that each night repeats itself in line 23, so the work is predictable. So D is a good answer. E, unexpectedly demanding. No, this won't work because she says that the work goes easily. So the correct answer is D, predictable and uncomplicated. Question number 4, line 30 through 33 seems to suggest what? The lines in question read, a breeze comes up chasing papers in the far corners of the darkened lot, as if suddenly a cold wind had started to blow straight at me from the future. A, the possibility of an ominous change. We've got breezes in the far corner of a darkened lot. This can indicate uncertainty because the corners are both far away and darkened. She can't see them well. And then she uses a simile here to compare the breeze to a cold wind blowing at her from the future. So we've got a cold wind blowing, coming from the far corners of a darkened lot. The future is dark, uncertain. The wind is cold, and that makes it sound like the future might be ominous. So A is a good answer. B, the power of nature to disrupt idyllic scenes. Nature isn't really what disrupts the scene here. It's the speaker's own thoughts, her own comparison of the natural event to an uncertain possible future event that gives us any disruption we might have here. So B doesn't work very well. C, rapid changes in the moods of adolescence. This is certainly not the best answer. If you didn't have A, you might waver over this if you think of teenagers as people with serious mood swings, but thankfully we do have A, so we can cross this out because you definitely wouldn't choose it over A. D, hope of a better future. No, this is the opposite of the kind of imagery we have with the far corners and the darkness and the cold wind, so get rid of D. E, need to make serious long-term plans. These lines themselves don't suggest the need to make serious long-term plans. They do suggest the possibility of an ominous change, and that possibility might prompt the speaker to make serious long-term plans, but that would be the next step for her, not what's suggested by the lines themselves. So E isn't a very good answer either. And of course, A, possibility of an ominous change, is the best answer. Question number 5, the interjection in line 34 serves primarily to do what? An interjection is sometimes an exclamation, but here it's a remark made as an interruption or an aside. So in line 34, right after these sort of foreboding few lines about the cold wind from the future, the speaker interrupts her thought to remark, I read that in a Doris Lessing book. So does this suggest that the speaker thinks too highly of herself, A? This would be a big stretch. The only thing that could possibly make you think this is that the speaker would think too highly of herself because she had read a book. This doesn't make a lot of sense. If the fact that she mentioned that she's going to college doesn't suggest that she thinks too highly of herself, then just having read a book shouldn't either. You really can't support this answer at all. B, comment ironically on the speaker's prospects for the future. There isn't really anything ironic about the fact that she read this description in a book, so eliminate this. C, emphasize the breadth of the speaker's reading experience. No, the fact that she's read one book doesn't indicate that she has much breadth of reading experience, so no. D, alter the effect of the preceding image. The preceding image is that image of the cold wind blowing from the future. When we read this next line and discover that the speaker got that imagery from a book, it does alter the effect. It doesn't mean the speaker didn't really have the ominous feeling herself, but we get a very different vibe when we discover that this line didn't originate with her. It would be like your boyfriend or girlfriend telling you how much he or she loved you, and then you found out that it was all just the lyrics to a song. He or she might still mean it, but the effect would be different than if it was all coming straight from the heart. So D is a good answer. E, foreshadow the final line of the poem. The final line is your order please, and this doesn't foreshadow that line at all. So no, cross out E. And D, alter the effect of the preceding image, is the correct answer.